Welcome to Geek Do-It-Yourself Mechanic. The purpose of this video is to talk about automobile dashboards. This will be a video in the general car concepts series. Let's begin. Have you ever wondered why they call it the dashboard? Well, I have. I'm one of those I'm very curious about things. So I went to a very trustworthy source. I went to Wikipedia. And the dashboard was from the carriage, horse and carriage era. When the horse would run or dash, it would probably throw up rocks and mud up to the driver. So they put a wood barrier there to stop the rocks and mud from hitting the driver and passenger. When they did the first automobile, since that was sort of the next evolution, they still used a dashboard, but in this case it was to protect the driver and passenger from the tires throwing up mud and rocks. Nowadays, it's very enclosed area, but they kept the concept, and now it's a place where gauges and lights are used to communicate with the driver. For example, we all know our cars probably have a tachometer. That's the RPM of the engine. Speedometer, how fast we're going. Odometer, how far the car is driven. And the current fuel level, fuel gauge. Oh, whoa. This video you're watching will be briefly interrupted for a public service message. Normally, after proving my point, I propose an action for you to take. But if you're not curious about what a dashboard is, you won't stay till the end of this video. So with that being said, I'm going to propose how you should act if one or more dashboard elements illuminates. If a warning light is illuminated or a gauge stays in the red, it is suggested that the automobile be taken to an ASC mechanic or you diagnose it yourself in the extremely near future. By keeping it in this state, you are risking more damage to the automobile and in some cases possibly your safety. I've heard people say this to me, so I have to say this. This may seem like a strange statement, but people have actually challenged me with this. Those lights and gauges are not ways for the dealership to make money. They are truly ways to communicate to the driver. If you think about it, if the dealerships did do that, people just wouldn't buy their car, and all cars have it. So please look at the dashboard as a way to communicate the state of the automobile to the driver. Sometimes it's just status, other times it's indicating there is an issue. Okay, let's get back to our normally scheduled video. The modern dashboard has evolved into an area to allow the automobile, the computer systems to communicate with the driver via gauges, symbols, and sometimes even text. They actually will tell you what's going on. The motivation for this video was I was asked numerous times if I should really pay attention to the dashboard. They're just ways for the dealership to make money from me. No. You really should pay attention to your dashboard. The dashboard has been designed in a way to effectively communicate with you. They have spent a great deal of time in light color, in placement of the gauges and lights to be informative and or to catch the driver's attention. I hope this video convinces you of that. Well, when I first started out, even though my dad was a mechanic and taught me about cars and even told me to watch the dashboard, I didn't. have to admit it. So I'm hoping to save you the pain. You probably won't listen, but like I didn't. But I hope you do, because I learned real quick. I continued to drive the car when the engine temperature gauge was into the red. Oh, I'm only a mile from home. Mistake. That mistake at that time, some time ago, won't tell you my age, but cost me, when I was in college, $2,500 for getting my heads worked on. I should have had my head worked on too, by the way. But I quickly learned after the experience that dashboard does have some very important information as well. At the same time, my wife was driving a VW Bug, and her Bug tended to leak oil. Her pressure gauge said low, ignored it, blew the motor. So another person I know learned to read the dashboard. I have actually, over the many years I've been in the cars, have spoke and tried to motivate many people to notice the dashboard. What's interesting is each person tended to have different motivations, how to motivate them to want to view the dashboard. Some just really loved their car, so they just wanted to protect it. Others just didn't want to damage it. Others, for example, if that gauge goes into the red, that's $3,000. That convinced many drivers over time that, oh, I should watch that. In other words, money or bill or an unexpected expense motivated them to watch their dashboard. Another thing you have to realize is that dashboard is telling you information that could either damage the vehicle and or make that car unsafe. So if you have children or yourself, you really should pay attention to it. You don't have to stare at it, but you have to just watch it, occasionally glance at it. It's like your mirror, same thing. In addition, you wouldn't want to break down in an unsafe area. You know, you're driving across country and you break down in the middle of nowhere when your temperature gauge was telling you that 14 miles back at the gas station. What's unfortunate, not all auto manufacturers use exactly the same gauge or the same nomenclature, but you can generally get a general overview of what they're trying to tell you. So I try to pick symbols in this presentation that I have experienced in all my cars. I have driven all brands and makes of cars. Not a lot of European, but some European. I've worked on European, so I tried to pull some of their symbols as well into this presentation. Let's start with the one we all know. Fuel gauge. We all of us, no matter what, paid attention to this gauge, because without this, the car stops. I've heard numerous motivations. Some people say, hey, fill it up at a quarter tank. Don't let it go below, because you don't want to suck in all the junk and water into your engine. Well, there's such thing as a gas filter. Another school of thought is by letting it drain lower than a quarter, you never let the contaminants build up in the gas tank. I believe there were some makes where it was proposed that you every so often actually drain and clean the tank. I believe Mazda some time ago, I heard that in their RX-8s or RX-7s, but don't quote me on that, but I heard that a while back. Either way, another angle you need to think about is, I live in California, Southern California, and we can have two kinds of disasters where I'm at. One's earthquake, another would be fire. So if I let my gas gauges get too low, when those natural hazards happen, I wouldn't be ready. Gas stations are not going to be open. Those attendants want to be at home with their families. So you might not be able to get gas. You might not be able to get out of town. So you want to think of those things too. I'm not trying to make you paranoid, but just think about it. Be wise. Maybe one of your cars should always be 3/4 of a tank, or you have spare gas. Whatever works for you. Not trying to teach you to be a prepper, but just think about it. Next important gauge most of us would know would be the engine temperature gauge or light. So you have a gauge here that shows hot or cold. You either have a fan or the temperature of liquid right there. I like the gauge myself because I can see it slowly creeping up into the red. Most gauges will be in the middle or below middle when you're driving. So if you start getting higher than middle, you really should watch that engine and maybe check your coolant or whatever. That would be in another video. But again, what I don't like about the bottom two, the idiot lights, is it's sort of too late potentially when you see those illuminate. So I like gauges because I like it. I like to see it creeping into that so I can take action as early as possible. So again, the relevance is if your engine heats up, as I told you in my story, it can be very costly expense. That was some time ago, only it was $2,500. Now it could be into the $4,000, $5,000 range of expense. And looking at this gauge and being aware of it could save you a great deal of money. So it is suggested when you get close to that red, you pull over and let it cool down. If it does cool down, limp it home or get it towed to the shop or home. Oil pressure. That's important. Obviously, the engine has a lot of metal-on-metal contact. Oil is used to lubricate the metal-on-metal contact, and it also helps cool the engine. As you know, some cars have oil coolers. Why would that be if it didn't help cool? If you get too high or too low, it's suggested you pull over, see if you can determine the issue. Maybe you're low on oil. High fuel pressure could be an internal engine issue. Again, I suggest you pull over when you get too high or too low and take appropriate action. If you're not able to, I suggest you get the car towed or drive an extremely short distance, half mile, to if that could be too long. But I suggest you take quick action and have the engine looked at. Again, this has a gauge. I prefer a gauge because I can see it creeping. The idiot light, the oil can, I don't like because it's too late. I don't know how much more time I have. I don't know if the light will turn off if I do get it in a good state. Sometimes it will stay illuminated. So you don't know. I prefer gauges myself. This is an alternator light. Some cars have a volt gauge that should be around 14 to 12. 12 is on the lower half. Anything above that or below that would be an issue. What's the relevance of an alternator? When you start the car, the battery is used. When the car is running, the alternator is charging the battery and powering the vehicle, the engine, and your interior, such as fans, radio, whatever. So therefore, if the alternator is not able to produce enough electrical power, you'll start using the battery, and that's a very short duration. It only has the ability to do that over a short duration. So you really could get yourself into trouble. I've seen some cars act very funny when their battery voltage is low. I've seen gauges go off, backup lights come on. It's very interesting. So again, if you see the alternator way above 14, way below 12, I suggest you pull over, get the car worked on or towed to your shop or home. Low tire pressure. Usually these are just lights. Again, I wish it would display it. I've seen some high-end cars actually display each tire and the PSI, but that's not something you would generally view. The issue you could have with low tire pressure, if you see this picture, is that tire has very little ability to steer, so it's actually a safety hazard. That tire could literally come off the wheel and you're riding on the rim. and it's extremely unsafe. So when your tire pressure is low, I suggest you go into a gas station or fill up your tires. Also remember to check your spare. Some cars, the spare tire is not maintained often and it's low. You check all your tires and you're okay and that light stays on. I suggest you do your spare. Why? Because if you don't do your spare and you keep thinking that light's your spare and your 4 tires now becomes an issue, you won't know. You want this light off so you know if one of your tires that are touching the ground could be in an unsafe state. ABS, or the exclamation point. You could look at that as a tire and the brakes sort of pressing on it. ABS is the anti-lock braking system that there'll be another video going into more detail, but those are both important safety lights, meaning you may not be able to stop the car, or your ABS system will not help you in extreme braking condition and lock up your tires, and therefore you could lose control of the car. I suggest the first thing you do is pull over, check out your brake fluid, see if it's low. If it's low, get it filled. If that's okay, then you will need to take the car to home or to the shop. Maintenance required. This is probably the, I don't want to say least, but least concern when you see it. I want to be very careful how I say this. This means you don't need to pull over, but this is there to help you remember to make high mileage or your oil change checkups, to take it in to see your mechanic. Again, these are not this light is not to make money for the dealer. If you are to look at your owner's manual and you look at the routine maintenance, none of that is extraordinary. Their brake, cooling, tire rotation, timing chain, valve clearance adjustment. Those are all important things. Those are not money-making activities. They're not asking you to come in to buy a new air freshener. These are important safety and longevity of your car reminders. Again, when the maintenance required, I would hope within a week you do take your car in or do the appropriate maintenance yourself. Check engine light. A lot of people think this is definitely a dealer motivated light. I'm assuring you it is not. 96 and newer cars are OBD2 compliant. I have another video that I'll put in the description that talks about OBD2 compliant. Again, what this is for at a high level is to help the car run clean out the tailpipe for the environment. But it's more than that too. It's making sure it's not releasing gas vapors into the atmosphere. This light will not illuminate, let's say you have your alternator is failing or your water pump is failing. Those are the job of the other gauges, but it's not taking any less from this. If you have an issue with your engine, for example, let's say a bad spark plug, a fuel injector stuck, not working, ignition not working, you're pumping out hydrocarbons through your system in most of those situations. So it could cause further damage to your car, and it could even make it not operable or make the repair cost very expensive. Here's a simple example. Let's say the computer detects a fuel injector is stuck on. So you're spraying excessive fuel in your exhaust system. You're literally going to melt down your catalytic converter, and catalytic converters are extremely expensive. Well, let's pick another one that seemingly isn't as bad. Let's say you have a spark plug that's shorted or is just not firing. Could be the coil, the spark plug, whatever. That seems, people would say, oh, that's not such a big deal. Yeah, my my idle's a little off, but that's not a big deal. That's not true either, because what's happening is the air-fuel mixture is not being combusted in that cylinder. So that air-fuel mixture is being pushed out your exhaust and being burnt in your catalytic converter, which will also burn it up and cost more money. So it is suggested to, when the check engine light comes on, or service engine soon light comes on, to take it to a dealer or you check it out as soon as possible to reduce further damage to your vehicle. Well, I think you noticed a pattern. There was not one light I said, oh, don't worry about, at least in this grouping I showed you. Obviously there's some lights that say your headlights are on, your high beams are on. That's this communicating state. I'm more talking about, I tried to cover the symbols and gauges that would impact the safety or the longevity of your vehicle. There are others, I might have missed some. So what I suggest is you look in your owner's manual, learn your lights, learn your gauges, and see where they normally operate. And if any of them operate outside the normal condition that you're used to seeing them, either look at the car yourself or take it into a certified mechanic to look at. Again, they are not for money-making reasons that they're put on the dash. Like I said, I'm going to say it again, these lights and gauges are not there just to have you come in so the dealership makes money. It is not the case. I suggest you learn what your gauges, when they come on, your lights when they illuminate, when the gauges move, what are their normal operating ranges. And if you're ever unsure, just talk to your local mechanic. Your mechanic should be able to tell you what the normal condition is, and could save you a great deal of money if you're not sure, and increase your knowledge of your automobile. Your automobile is very important to you, or you wouldn't have it. We need it to get to work, to go entertain ourselves, play sports, take our children to their activities. We need our cars to run. The goal of these gauges is to help you accomplish that goal. One thing to notice, the idiot lights especially, when you first turn your ignition to on, all your lights should come on. Some manufacturers, they come on for maybe a second, 2 seconds, then they go out. Others stay on till the car starts. There's the difference. I wish I could tell you one general rule. But learn your car, and if you have multiple cars, learn each car. Reason I tell you this is, let's pretend your oil light or your alternator light did not turn on when you first go to your on position before you start the car, before you go to start. That would imply that light could be burnt out, or that subsystem is having an issue, maybe a blown fuse. So you should take your car into a mechanic if that occurs, because in essence you're in the blind in that particular area. It won't be able to communicate to you, or it is already communicating to you that there's an issue because it's not illuminated, but it can't communicate to you because the lights burn out, fuses out, or whatever, if you get my gist. The following video I'll show you shows how these lights come on, and I only stay to the on. I don't start the car, but I go to the on position in an F-150. It's a truck, Ford F-150, and you'll see they illuminate, then they go out, and if I would have started the car, you'd see most of the lights go out, and the gauges would engage at that point. You'd see the current, true oil pressure, engine temperature, gas or fuel level, and things like that. Thank you for watching. I hope you found the information helpful.